Assalamu alaikum. You are listening to Dear Ustadha Raidah with your host, Raidah Shah Idil. This podcast is about applying radical empathy and prophetic mercy to different life challenges. This podcast is brought to you by Seekers Guidance, the Global Islamic Seminary. At Seekers Guidance, we believe in keeping reliable Islamic knowledge free and accessible for all those who seek it. You can help us keep all our content and services free and also earn the rewards of an ongoing and worthwhile charity by making a small pledge at seekersguidance.org/donate. Even $10 a month will go a long way in helping us produce content and services and in keeping them accessible to everyone. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners. Welcome back to Dear Ustadha Raidah. In today's episode 6, I will be discussing a very challenging and very sensitive topic, and it's titled Siblings and Verbal Abuse. So I'll start with the question. Is it permissible for an older sibling to verbally abuse a younger sibling during a conversation on the basis that the abuser is older and therefore has the right? Does Islam allow someone who has been harmed to verbal abuse from an older sibling to return the equivalent in verbal abuse? Jazakallah khair. SubhanAllah. So my answer goes, I pray this finds you well. May Allah reward you for reaching out to us. Verbal abuse. Narrated Abdullah, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, abusing a Muslim is fusuq and evil doing, and killing him is kufr, disbelief. Sahih Muslim. In Islam, it is not permissible to verbally abuse anyone. Solutions. Narrated Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, may Allah be pleased with him. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, those who do not show mercy to our young ones and do not realize the right of our elders are not from us. Sunan Abi Dawud. I am sorry to hear about the abuse you have been enduring from your older sibling. He or she does not have the right to abuse you. If anything, he or she has the responsibility to treat you with love and compassion because you are younger. Anger iceberg. Anger is at the very top of the anger iceberg. Beneath it are often feelings like helplessness, grief, shame, and so on. What is driving your older siblings' anger? Older siblings who are abusive often have at least one parent who is also abusing them. Whatever it is that's causing your older siblings pain, he or she is discharging their negative feelings on you, which is unacceptable. Your sibling needs to take responsibility for their hurt, seek out help, and ask you for forgiveness. Boundaries. Narrated Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, help your brother whether he is an oppressor or he is an oppressed one. People asked, O Allah's Messenger, it is all right to help him if he is oppressed, but how should we help him if he is an oppressor? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, by preventing him from oppressing others. Bukhari. The solution is not to verbally abuse your older sibling in return. Rather, you need to set boundaries. Calmly explain that you will not tolerate the abuse. Walk away if you need to. Do not cut ties, but remain civil. This is understandably very, very difficult to do at first. I recommend that you seek out the support of a culturally sensitive counselor or therapist. Healing. I encourage you to practice self-compassion. Please do not blame yourself. You are worthy of love and belonging. So is your older sibling. I pray that over time you will find your way back to each other after finding your way back to yourselves. Please see the following links. How do I forgive a sibling who hurts me? And can we break family ties with siblings who treat us badly? So this is a really painful topic for many of us. I can imagine those of us who have siblings. I am the oldest in my family, and I come from a very complicated and challenging family dynamic. Alhamdulillah, through all the tribulations I went through as a child, as a teenager, adolescent, and as a young woman, alhamdulillah, Allah has guided me to where I am today. So a lot of what I speak about in this podcast series comes from the lived experience. And one of the hardest laboratories, so to speak, in which we are tested from very young are our families of origin. Depending on how challenging things are, it can sometimes feel like the scene of a crime or many crimes. So when I read this heartbreaking question, the first thing that popped to my mind is, what are their parents doing? Because when an older sibling speaks like that to a younger sibling, they're copying it from somewhere. This kind of behavior doesn't just crop up in a vacuum. Human beings are always a product of something, and often is what we see at home. So, Allahu Alam, it sounds like this questioner has an older sibling who's been deeply hurt and verbally abused by a parent, and is now using the very same line on their younger sibling. I am older, I have the right. Lines like that. And this is really, really sad. And it goes back to the responsibility of parents needing to regulate their emotions, to behave with compassion and patience with their children. And if they don't have the skills to keep calm, then it's on them to learn it and to break whatever cycles of abuse may have happened in the past. Because the thing about patterns and like subconscious things that we do and expectations that we have, so much of it is inherited. I mean, everyone knows about genetic inheritance now. It's a very big thing in our very scientifically oriented world. But there's also like deep trauma that is inherited, difficulties that are inherited. And perhaps the parents in this situation were also abused by their older siblings and by their parents. So it's kind of like, where does the cycle end? Can the cycle end? Alhamdulillah, the cycle can definitely end with tawbah, number one, with returning to Allah, making that commitment to not hurt one's family again, and seeking help. And it's going to be a process. Things like this do not change overnight. So if you're listening to this and you are stuck in a very difficult situation at home, and you feel that you are completely alone, please know that Allah is always there for you to speak to. Allah is always there, especially for the oppressed. And one of the most vulnerable things that happen behind closed doors is abuse. It could be among siblings, it could be between parents, and it could be between parents and children. And because it's so private, no one else can see it. And oftentimes children from families where abuse is rife, they present themselves very differently in the public sphere, where they are told to behave or there'll be consequences. So it's almost like a double life is happening, helplessness behind closed doors, and then very controlled kind of, perfectionistic behavior outside. It's really heartbreaking. And the solution comes from always returning to Allah, of course, and making that commitment to heal, and trying as much as possible to break certain patterns. And it's really hard when you're young and you're still under the care of your parents in a difficult household. There's not very much children can do, really. And oftentimes, one of the most important things surviving in an abusive household is to survive. And kids who rock the boat too much can get hurt, sometimes irreparably. So these patterns that help children survive difficult childhoods end up backfiring on them when they become adults, because there's a whole legacy of problematic reactive behaviors, hypervigilance, paranoia, inability to trust their own judgment. It does feel insurmountable sometimes, but Shifa is completely possible through Allah's help, and Allah will send you the help you need. But it begins with realizing that it's not okay for my parents to speak to me like that. It's not okay for my sibling to speak to me like that. And it's important to know how to set boundaries. But when you've been abused for so long, or when that's a norm in your home, like setting boundaries can feel very impossible. So help has to come from outside the home. So if you're listening to this and you're a parent, subhanAllah, it is such a huge amana. I have 2 little girls. Please make dua for them. And when I was pregnant with my second, I knew that, wow, my firstborn is now going to be a big sister. And I was very committed, and still am, inshallah, to modeling compassion, modeling a different way of being, so that inshallah my daughters will have a healthier, happier, more well-adjusted childhood. That's always the hope, right? And it was actually really confronting for me to read the material on how parents can actually actively help siblings work together as a team, reduce rivalry, not make them feel like they're always competing for parental love, because that will just make them rivals instead of friends. It was really tough reading those materials, and I had to stop because I felt overwhelmed by my own childhood memories of very difficult situations. But alhamdulillah, all of our parents did the best they could with what they knew, and we all do the best we can. So make dua for our parents, make dua for their parents, make dua for Allah to help all parents do better, inshallah, for their children. So it's not easy, because things of childhood natures are always very, very hard. It's very triggering as well. But when something hurts, it's a good signal that, okay, I need to pay attention to this, I need to breathe through this, I need to make dhikr, I need to not overreact. This is something that's telling me something else, not to just fly off the handle. Even if that may have been the pattern we may have seen growing up, we are now adults. It's now our responsibility to choose differently. And research has shown that one of the best indicators for siblings to actually get along well and grow up friends, it's like their relationship with their parents. So if you have a positive, loving relationship with your father and your mom, then you're a lot less likely to need to take it out on your sibling. When there's always enough love at home, and parents cherish and value each child for who they are, accepting them unconditionally. And I know this is a very, sadly, can feel very confronting, because oftentimes people misconstrue the idea of unconditionally accepting your child. Maybe they think it's the same as unconditionally accepting bad behavior, and that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that when you have a child, no matter how challenging, how confronting, how strong-willed that child may be, he or she is yours, and that child is a trust from God, and you need to show your child that your love for them will not change or waver when they make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. None of us were created angelic. We're all human. We all fall down. We all make mistakes. And parents who are able to hold that space to love their children through their mistakes, to help them feel that it's okay to make mistakes, make your tawbah, get up again, mom and dad still love you, it's okay. Kids like this stand a better chance of realizing that there is a creator who's even more forgiving than their parents, a creator more loving, not one so bound by conditions where I'm only loved and acceptable when I behave. Because what can end up happening is kids, especially as they grow up in the West, end up living double lives, where outside the family home they're behaving a certain way as long as mom and dad can't find out, and behind closed doors they're the compliant, obedient child. And that's really, really problematic. So it all comes back to love again. It's just a very prophetic concept. It's not some hippy-tippy idea that someone made up along the way. Compassion, love, mercy have always been part of our deen. So if you have a sibling, think about how would the Prophet ﷺ want you to behave, with compassion, with kindness, with acceptance. Even if they're behaving in ways that you do not comprehend and you never will, that's not on you. Your responsibility is to be there, support them, to love them, forgive them, and model that behavior for your children. Because the problem with family feuds is they can carry on for generations, and it's such a loss. In some ways, it feels like cutting ties is like the easy way out. It is impermissible, definitely. And it's also the easy way out because then people don't get a chance to sit down and work it out like mature adults, because they just, give up. But never give up on blood. Never give up on your family. No matter what has been done in the past, there's always a chance for forgiveness for as long as everyone is alive. And that's something not to be taken for granted, by the way. Never give up on blood. Never give up on your family. Inshallah, in Jannah, that's where we have perfect relationships with everybody. But in the dunya, it will always be messy. And in this mess, in this pain, these are all opportunities for growth and reflection and connection. Is it easy? Nope. Oftentimes we grow the most when things are painful. But if you're a parent listening to this, do your best to nurture love between your children. Don't make them compete against each other for your love. Don't compare. Every kid is different. SubhanAllah, I only have 2, alhamdulillah, and I can already see how uniquely gifted and temperament each of them are. And I had nothing to do with it. SubhanAllah, it's incredible how Allah bestows different challenges and different blessings on different children. And it's up to the parent to love and accept them for all of it, to be patient with it. Is it easy? No. But inshallah, that's our path to pleasing Allah, inshallah. So this brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for listening. I hope this has been helpful. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin Nabiyil Ummi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Thank you for listening. We hope that you found immense benefit in today's episode. Please take a moment to spread this benefit by sharing this podcast with your friends and family. Thank you.